Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2, with the player ranked #1 in the world by Dark, in the red, the final boss. It's Dark. Up against arguably the best Protoss player in the world, currently pictured trying to take his second base. We have MaxPax in a best of 5 Protoss versus Zerg showdown between Dark's barely controlled chaos and MaxPax's pixel-perfect Protoss precision. Well, this is a match from two different sides of the StarCraft 2 spectrum. But hopefully you'll meet me in the middle by smashing that like button. And maybe even subscribe. Help me count the algorithm. And Jimmy, what are we at? Jimmy. 1,615 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know what else I'd do in my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. Dark starts it off with a casual proxy hatch. For many moons, alright, for decades now, Protoss players have made life difficult for Zerg. And I mean that's just lore accurate. But Protoss players sending out those early probes to block your natchery. Dark has turned this on its head by simply blocking the Protoss's natural. Now, is it as efficient or as effective? It's not about math. It's about emotional damage. It's about dictating the pace of the game. Okay, and taking the initiative. And that's worth a few minerals here or there. Now, we'll have to see if it's worth the amount of minerals that it costs Dark, because it's certainly more than a few. But if you recall, not too long ago against MaxPax, Dark won a decisive series where he proxy hatched like 4 out of 6 games, winning most of them with varying levels of commitment. So, and speaking of commitment, there's already, is that 10 Zerglings on the field. He wants to kill these Adepts. Oh, come on in. Come on. Oh, he lets them shade out. I think if he waited a split second longer, the Adepts may have committed. But Dark now has 3 bases. MaxPax has a Stargate on the way. So after a bit of a rough and tumble start, we're going to buckle down and follow it up with this early tech. Void Ray is the choice. MaxPax going to try to keep Dark in himself about pretty much everything that's going on here. Meanwhile, Dark using those early lings in order to potentially delay the third. There's this awkward time for Zerg at this stage of the game, especially if maybe you went for an early hatchery in their base, where the Protoss will have a similar amount of workers, or maybe even more. Part of this is because all of your workers, whenever they get promoted/punished into spore crawlers, hatcheries, extractors, what have you, it costs you a worker. And part of this is just because sometimes you have to slow things down in order to get queens and other basic defense. Whereas MaxPax is a master of timing. Is that glaives? Huh. Immediate glaives follow-up. Now, this is almost too obvious. I know. But the Void Ray to deny Overlords, then you follow it up with some sort of almost all-in build like glaives. It's going to depend on whether MaxPax decides to go all-in, or if he just keeps building probes and tries to bait out a bunch of roaches. Dark already has a roach horn on the way, plus an Evo chamber as well. Couple more extractors. This is not going to be a very quick glaive to depth timing. There is a Zergling in position, and always hiding the Adepts in the main. So trying to hit him as hard as possible, but MaxPax has not slowed down much on the probe count. Dark has not slowed much on the drone count, though. He's already at 60 and counting. So if he's able to shut this down immediately, that puts him in a very comfortable position going forward. But it's almost impossible to shut down glaive to depths, all right? Those shades just teleporting across a screen and a half. Little grasshopper Protoss, always slipping away at the last moment. I don't know why I thought of that, but I gotta do my lawn. Too many children on it. Get off my lawn. Speaking of, get off my... Brenda, not now. Queens, one assassinated. But the Adepts, there's already roaches on the field. Dark set himself up with the temporary wall at the natural. One of the roaches is very unhappy about this, but The glaive to depths will get less than nothing here. I guess one queen, and he forces out a bunch of roaches. And this buys plenty of space in order for MaxPax to safely get his third. And now he's following it up with Blink. He's baited out a bunch of roaches, and Blink Stalkers are more than cost efficient, especially in MaxPax's hands. Especially with limited creep spread and no roach speed, a Blink follow-up could be definitely... He's almost done with Blink. Just been chrono boosting it like a fiend right now. But fourth base will be scouted. Dark keeping his options open. Infestation Pit is on the way. We'll see where he decides to go with that Hydra Den. Maybe quick lurker range. As, honestly, I'm not sure what he wanted with the Infestation Pit, but now he's decided on a hive. I'm not convinced it was for a quick hive. It's never bad to have a quick hive, but it could cost you if it's at the expense of having an army to deal with something like, say, a Blink Stalker type. And just coincidentally, the Stalker's already moving across. The Glaive to Depths threatening the Sloaches. We'll eventually deal with them. The Oracle overhead just making everyone uncomfortable. Lurker Den is on the way. It's going to be quick. Lurker range. Up against a Robo Bay. Is that for Colossi? And if Dark had done a much more typical kind of brute force Zerg style, we got that Roach Hydra and Zerglings. So many Zergs nowadays are trying to avoid the late game in favor of killing you before you get all that attack. Colossi would be great. But Dark will have a hive completed by the time anything like that starts. Plenty of roaches on the field, triggers the stasis, and Immortal comes down, which will help out immensely against this, but could also be quite a risk. If he loses the Immortal, then the Hydras and Lings can overrun, but honestly, not going great. 4 drones dead to counter-attacking Adepts, drag some of the reinforcements away, and things actually starting to turn quickly. Loses some more drones. The roach count is thinned out dramatically. MaxPax has lost barely any Stalkers here. 4 in total. Killed a dozen roaches off. And now opens up an opportunity to actually go for the Colossi. Still a bit of an odd timing to do so. He is not anticipating lurkers this quickly. But there's a lot of options with Colossi on the field. And Dark doesn't have a huge economy. It always feels like Dark is able to get more done with less economy than literally any other Zerg, including Cyril. But it's a bit of a tall order against a Protoss going for 4 bases with access to 2 robos and plenty of upgrades. So, honestly, I have no idea which way this goes. This is a very odd scenario. Having Colossi in more than 1 numbers. Usually like 1 or 2 to desperately defend against Hydra timings, but... Lurker range is nearly complete. Oracle still overhead for detection, much more reliable than the flimsy Observer. Not to judge, but, you know, just observation. Well, the Lurkers will hold things down. MaxPax carving through the rocks. Bit of an archaeological expedition. Sentry leading the charge. Charge lots not quite done yet. Double Immortal production. Templar archives behind. So MaxPax quickly realizing he's going to need a bit more advanced tech to deal with this. The Colossi retreating back. The Blink Stalkers staggering. Getting some extra... He's so good at those Blink Stalkers. It's disgusting. And beautiful. And disgusting. Sidestepping. Dancing in and out of Lurker spines. Kind of accidentally, but still. Dark at 75 drones. Adding a few more. He's established 5 bases. This is a high water mark right now for Dark. He has no tech past this. No Spire, no Ultra Cavern. Not that I think that'd be a good idea, but no chance of a greater Spire for Broodlords. So it's going to be Lurkers, Hydras, Roaches, Lings. I don't see any Vipers. With a Nidus on the way. 20 ranged Lurkers currently on/under the field. So Dark winding up for a strong timing, but he is under the obligation to get something done because as time goes on, well, the one thing we're missing from MaxPax is that final tech piece. The beacon has yet to be lit. The Warp Prism, a Dark, everyone pile in. Brendan, why is everyone here? I may have CC'd everyone. That Warp Prism is an existential threat, but it has yet to be realized nearly as much as the army already standing on the field. MaxPax is actually maxed out. He's packed his bags and is going across the map. The fleet beacon is in the production tab, but the army is on the field. Dark is headed along the right side. Storm about to be completed. MaxPax caught down the center. A few of the lurkers repositioning will get caught. An observer with 1 HP and 0 fucks overhead and will take out those lurkers. We're going to a base trade. A single Hydra, realizing that MaxPax is fully committed. And Dark will be driving towards the natural, whereas MaxPax is doing the same on the other side. Lurkers burrowing down, the Nidus network exposed. The Templar are being shredded right now. He doesn't even Storm loses all the Templar, but the Immortals stand strong and the Colossi stand tall. On the other side, Lurkers coming back through the Nidus. Third base being immolated. Charge lots on top of the Lurkers. The reinforcements are being cut off. But at the same time, there are 3 Templar assaulting a spawning pool in the main base, which is a sentence I've never said before, and I probably never will say again. But the Lurkers trying to catch up to the main army, but it's dangerous in and of itself. The Zerg are closing in from both sides. MaxPax realizes the danger, recalls out, loses 1 Colossus on the way there, but wow. Both players able to get damage done, and neither player taking critical hits. But if I had to call it, well, it appears MaxPax got the better end of the exchange. He killed the third base. He limited the lurker count. He did not take critical damage to his tech. He still has all his bases alive. He has most of his Colossi, a mothership in production. His tech is going the right direction here. Whereas Dark has to rebuild his lurker deck. Did he lose his Evo chambers? Yes. Gets the Prism with 3 High Templar. Probably doesn't even realize that there were 3 High Templar in there after their ill-fated assault on the spawning pool, where they did slightly more than emotional damage. But Viper's on the way. Unfortunately, now Dark finds himself in that kind of difficult position. You're up against a Protoss army that can easily crush you. Okay. Lurkers are great, but Tempests are on the way. The Dark's main advantage is it's very hard for this Protoss army to all be in the right place at the right time. Bringing all the Immortals and Templar and Colossi together is a whole effort, and it leaves you vulnerable on other sides of the map. Lurkers are a lot easier to split into smaller groups and get damage done. But at the same time, if MaxPax is able to either whittle down Dark's army or just catch him out of position for a split second, he can wipe him out. Dark is rebuilding the evolution chambers. The Lurkers. MaxPax with some very strong, small but strong. All right. Those armies are just enough, just right here. Immortals on the high ground, the Storm softening things up, and the Tempest count is growing. They don't do a lot of damage against the ground, but Lurker's not so good at shooting up. Hydra's only marginally better. Yanks out an Immortal feedback a little late. MaxPax undercutting this army with another one down the center. Mothership has arrived. Stasis. Nidus on the high ground. Yanks out a Tempest, make it a Colossus 2-for-1 time warp on the ramp. And a small victory for Dark, but MaxPax is committing. There's a couple Tempests shelling the center line. Dark is coming back home with the Lurkers to defend. The 6 o'clock base is likely forfeit at this point. The Observer is almost taken out. There's no Oracle nearby. He might not have any detection. The Lurkers on either side. He might be able to extract himself with the Mothership. Indeed he does. A couple more Immortals are going to be taken out, but the Mothership, what a save on that army. +3 attack is on the way, and MaxPax so far outmaneuvering this heavily maneuverable army out of Dark. The Mothership usage is top-notch here. Not keeping her back at home, but also making sure she's not caught out in the fray. And now Dark is going for a bit of a desperate base trade. Here we go again. We've had first base trade, but have we had second base trade? I guess by most definitions this might be third, but still. Dark slicing down the center. The gold base taken out on either side. MaxPax's main army driving into the heart of the swarm. Meanwhile, Dark is eviscerating the 3rd and the 4th base, but a recall back to the 3rd and the Hydras are exposed. A withering line of extended thermal lance fire will take out a bunch of the Hydras. Meanwhile, the surviving charge lots will be eviscerated. And once again, we trade. But once again, I think the advantage heads to the Danish Protoss. He still has the unit composition together. He still has the upgrades. Neither player now has much economy. The income, barely one base, like one fully mining base of mining. The main base is mining out, the natural is drying up. Dark now has corruptors, but no upgrades. He doesn't... Any Vipers? No. Greater Spire's a distant dream. There's still a Nidus up to the north side, awkwardly, that nobody's dealing with right now. The Lurkers! No, the Lurkers! Every Lurker is precious. Dark Supply is struggling. Meanwhile, MaxPax nearly maxed out. Another fight to the north, but it's just Hydras. The lunge is, yeah. Dark has dug himself out of more difficult situations before, but MaxPax has not been slipping here. Like, this has been some tactical. He has not been turtling. He has not been defensive, but neither has he been greedy with these attacks. MaxPax just making it look inevitable right now, and if Dark doesn't find a way to turn it around, he's not going to last much longer. The Corruptors will intercept some carriers, but Archons underneath and Storms. The Lurkers, there's no challenge for the Tempests here. There's no a single Corruptor obliterated instantaneously. The Hydras are going the other way. The Storms are melting through the Lurkers. And he still has some left over for the Corruptors. And Dark is going to take out the base to the 3 o'clock, but MaxPax is going to take game number 1. What a masterclass. Wow, that was... It was so close, yet it felt so far the whole game. MaxPax clearly adjusting his style. No longer getting tilted the moment Dark shows up with a drone. At least not so far. But I wouldn't count Dark out of it yet. That was a tutorial right there. Just play perfectly for like 15 minutes straight and not get tilted by any of Dark's crazy attacks. And then you might have the opportunity to make it look not easy, but confident. And honestly, that's been MaxPax. That's the difference historically between MaxPax and Hero. Well, there's a wide array of those differences, but Hero has never hesitated. All right, Hero has been a player, the drunken brawler, Forrest Gumpy, and Protoss, whereas MaxPax is over here with like peer-reviewed, triple-checked math. And sometimes against Dark, you just gotta send it. Like the first probe directly at... Where are you going with that drone, Dark? You can't just... Well... Let's just let it play out. Yes, he can. And he will. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Ooh. It's a spicy one. The double expand. Dark gonna expand to both naturals simultaneously. Wow. He waited for the probe. MaxPax sent out a probe to block the natural. So Dark hit his drone, and now the probes are pulled down. That's the number. 6 probes, a zealot on the way. He actually wants to get this quicker. 4 probes plus a zealot is enough to get it before it finishes, but 6 probes is, I actually want to take this base now. But again, Dark has decided to turn things, turn things. Turned in some way, but... And now, well, both for us as spectators and for the players, things are going to go a different direction. Which I'm very glad of, because, let's be honest here, many Protoss versus Zerg, you could probably predict the first 6 minutes with your eyes closed. But it's like blinking with both eyes. An Adept on the way. He does complete the Zealot. Dark more committed to it this time. He's not going to have Zergling speed for quite a while yet. In fact, Dark still has a surprising amount of minerals. Will we try it again? He's not going to do it again, right? The Adept does not chase down the drone in the main, which, even if Dark didn't notice it, that's kind of a giveaway in and of itself. There are no queens at all. As obviously, that was slightly delayed. Dark dodges with the Spore. Some Zerglings coming out. Pops it. And cuts down the Zerglings. I've arrived! Who are you people? We don't like your kind. Brenda, stop yelling at the Protoss. They can't talk back. They don't have mouths. Susan, why are you being so loud? You know, like 30% of people are very weirded out by this bit. But like 30% of people like it, so that's what counts. That's true. All right, continue. Yeah, get the... Sorry, I am... blacked out for a moment. But the Adept's driven back by the Queens. There's an Oracle. The drone's... The drone is still alive. I will proxy hatch you in this life or the next. My name is Dronicus Maximus Paximus, and yes, you may recognize that name. For it was meant to mock you, and I couldn't come up with anything more clever during my short life. But the Adept will finally catch the drone, but the Zerglings will catch the Adepts on the field. Eat the... Distracted by Dronicus. Dark will catch an Adept on the field and force the Oracle to actually activate. And I have to go get a sip of energy recharge here. Yep. Gets a little tap on the shoulder from the Nexus. 100 more energy. Honestly, one of those abilities, I will say, if you go back and you watch my patch notes, I'm like, well, this seems pretty good. Well, I always thought it was going to be good in Protoss versus Zerg. It also ended up being pretty good in Protoss versus Terran. But I will say that I underestimated how big a deal energy recharge would be. And having 100 extra energy on an Oracle, obviously useful. But throughout the entire game, with extra storms, with the sentries early, Protoss, at least at the highest level, has certainly gotten a bit of a boost. An energy shot, if you would, in order to make the early game stronger, and the late game more potent. And even though I thought it would be a pretty big deal, like a 6, 7 out of 10 impact, it's like a 9. That's what energy recharge ended up at. And continues to be. Enough energy to kill 3-4 drones, and slap a revelation, and still have some left over to potentially burn out creep tumors, if Dark isn't paying attention. One Oracle can now do the job of like 3 Oracles before, which saves you a whole lot of gas. And contributes to the danger of these early Blinkstalker timers. On top of the fact, Queens also cost 175 minerals. So, up from 150, which is still kind of crazy to me, but... Only in games where you make more than a few Queens does that really matter. So, like, every single one of them. But... hatcheries are only 275 minerals as opposed to 300, which makes proxy hatching that much easier. So, Blinkstalkers on the way across. Sorry, soon to be Blinkstalkers on the way across. And an infestation pit already in production. Dark with roaches. There's not the Adept Glaives time, and there's nothing to really kind of tee this up. It's just going to be the Blinkstalkers right off the bat. I'm sure Dark was anticipating this. So we'll see if he's timed out his response well enough. It's not that many Stalkers. The Oracles are going to have a lot of energy for Stasis Ward. Or, you know, I guess burninating across the countryside. But usually stasis. Let's be honest. Nidus already. Ooh. Swarm house. Sorry. Swarm house. Sir Richard and his band of swarm house, brother. More than likely, here's the queens will drive things back. 8 swarm house in production. Dark. Using the map. He already has vision. You notice an overlord on the minimap down there? Yeah. That's not just for fun. Blink Stalkers cutting back. The Queens and Lings dragging out some of the Stasis Wards as well. Dark holding so far. Got to be very careful not to overbuild Swarm Host, because then you just straight up die to the Blink Stalkers, which would be embarrassing if Dark was capable of feeling shame. But the Nidus is on the way, and the main base is wide open. I do wonder if MaxPax is starting to get a little suspicious. Like, why is this doing so well? And now his suspicions, well, I think that answers a lot of questions there. The Nidus screams its way into existence like most people do. And the first wave is hitting the main. MaxPax. Hello? Hello, MaxPax! He loses 6 probes off the bat. And the Nexus! The Nexus! A critical hit. The first wave of the Swarm Host kills the main base and some probes alongside it. It's a disaster for MaxPax. From the Nidus scream, he should have anticipated something like this. It's almost like... Unfortunately, MaxPax... This is one of those scenarios where Dark's flexibility comes through. And MaxPax sometimes a bit too rigid. I don't know why he thought he had time, but losing the Nexus is unacceptable. And now, he might lose more. Another wave. The Roaches, the stasis on the Locusts. They'll spend the rest of their short lives in it. And now the Roaches and Ravagers are breaking into the buildings. Going for the Cyber Core as well. No more Stalkers makes things a lot easier. I don't even think... There is charge. There is charge. Which is helpful, but... More Swarm Hosts on the way. Dark is up 60 supply. The Swarm Hosts have done... they have taken my words and given Dark the advantage. MaxPax just... dropping the ball entirely now. Another wave will be thrown into the natural. And there's no real answer here. Even if he fights with the Stalkers, he's fighting Locusts. A Stasis actually finds surprising amounts of damage. He'll blink onto the Locust, but it doesn't get easier. A few charge slots made it by. We'll take out one of the Queens. If MaxPax can hold, if he crushes this army, the Blink Stalkers box it out. If MaxPax crushes the army and can defend one good wave of Swarm House, then maybe he can counterattack with a very strong Protoss army. But I don't think Dark is going to offer him that much of a target. Storm might be done. MaxPax is going for effectively a base trade. Have we had third base trade? I don't know how many base trades we're going to see on this series, but the main Nexus was rebuilt only to die again. As the Swarm House, a second Nexus, has been taken down. And Dark is still maxed out. Does he have a hive on the way? As of this moment. Hydralisk Den, Carapace upgrade. Nidus screams into the main. Charge lots will take it out. Roaches and Ravagers. Storms. But Dark's pre-split looking pretty good. Wades through some more storms. That's actually quite a costly one there. But Archon's getting hit by Corrosive Bile. The Oracles exhausting the rest of their energy. MaxPax with a solid defense here. As the Roaches are just simply not that great in general. And MaxPax will clean it up. 19 more Roaches on the way. And the swarm hosts are trundling across the map on their stubby legs, which are not so great for walking. Manages to control the locusts out of the way, splitting them against Storm. Another is that Roaches headed up to the north side. MaxPax putting out fires, but more popping up before he can deal with it. The Roaches up to the north. Just on top of the Nexus, a recall. He recalls Templar. The Storm's coming in. Another Nidus at the natural. Do the Swarm, are they ready? I don't think he's gonna go for another set of beautiful Storms. MaxPax starting to stabilize a bit. There is a Lurker Den on the way. Hive should be done. Hydra range is about to complete. But Dark is suffering from some diminishing returns. I'm not gonna say it's close, but it's closer. So another wave. He actually only activates a couple. Knocks out another Archon. Now with +3 done, trying to take out some of the Templar. Charge lots forcing the retreat for now. Drops it down on top of the third. The probes are being slaughtered, and it's just too much. Dark off the back of the proxy hatch block with an incredibly and almost concerningly effective Nidus strategy. The Swarm hosts, more than enough. And I think we'll see GG any second, Tasteless. Another wave is ready. That single Archon. GG. We're all tied up. Dark strikes back. Well executed. MaxPax really, I think, paralyzed. I think the Nidus Scream came in and MaxPax realized that he messed up at that exact moment. But he kind of locked up for a moment. And losing the main Nexus was almost critical damage. You almost could forgive him GGing right there. But he didn't. He fought it out. Almost dragged it back. But the damage. He took critical damage right off the bat. And everything past it was just a really long death animation. Well, Dark. All of his drones in his main base as we go into Ultra Love. Maybe today will be the day this map is accurately named. Though, I have my doubts. Drone. I think just headed to the third for once. What am I doing? Why would I say that? Just wait. Just don't say anything. Just spend some time begging people to like and subscribe or shouting out Wardi's Spring Championship, which this is from. Just check out Wardi if you got the opportunity. He's also planning on putting on a 2025 tournament series. I don't know if we have a link to that or just Wardi's Jimmy, the description. But it'd be awesome if you could support and get more great games like this one. As Dark, for the third time in a row, will build a hatchery. And Jimmy, turn that. Two hatcheries on the way. We'll see this time. He's had several opportunities to figure out what to do against this. Honestly, I don't think it's good. I do not think the math works out here. But again, that is not the realm in which we calculate success. Dark is doing whatever he can. He knows MaxPax has probably, he has so much practice. He plays against Cyril and wins almost half the time. So if you let him just play a normal game, you're going to get destroyed. Even Dark. So I think this is Dark saying, well, even if it's not efficient, it is effective. And MaxPax has already shown a vulnerability to being thrown off even a little bit. So. Though as we get into it, I do have to mention, Dark, it finally looks like he will be retiring. He's got his obligatory military service. He's not signed up for this season of GSL, which is in about a month. From my understanding, about the 1st or 2nd week of May. So I'm not sure what we're going to do, besides be very unhappy and incredibly sad. But, the final boss, some of his final games, leaving us with so many exciting moments. You know, maybe a few more. Double Adept coming in. Knocks out the creep tumor. Oh. 3 kills so far. It appears MaxPax is now... Oh no, not a 5th one. 5 drones. The drone lives in the main, but 5 drones to 2 adepts. That's a lot of damage. MaxPax with the old 2 adept shade, but now another adept gonna finish off the drone, who will just sit there and contemplate its fate after stealing 5 minerals. Preemptively walling off with a shield battery. MaxPax anticipating this one. Wow. For every bit of success that Dark had in the previous game, he will have whatever the opposite is in this one. It's just all gone horribly wrong. The proxy hatch dealt with as quickly as possible. The counter-attacking shades, more than enough damage. The drone taken out. No scout. Another key part was no real extended scout on the Stargate. He may have known an Oracle first, but he's not able to see if it's an Oracle to follow it up, or if Twilight or something like that. 10 more drones on the way for Dark, as the Queens will strongly suggest the Oracle leave. Wow. Both players knew that MaxPax would go for that drone immediately. Dark was preemptively putting it into an Evo chamber, and MaxPax, the moment he spotted it, hunting. Is it going to be Glaives again? No, he's got 2 gases of the natural. Yeah, it's going to be Blink, obviously, based on the way it is. Isn't that neat? Melee attack upgrade. Mass Zergling this time. Definitely something that can, puns intended, claw you out of a difficult situation, but is also all in. You have to use so much larva to build Zerglings. You're not going to have much of a drone count. Dark is relying on crushing the initial attack and getting an advantage that way, because MaxPax will be catching up in the worker count momentarily, and he's going to have Blink Stalkers with Oracles. That is a very, very cost-effective unit composition, the longer it's on the field. Oracles overhead. Adept at the wall. Once again, it's not hero. Lair is only halfway done. Dark is... Ooh. He's got the Zerglings. He's got Banelings on the way as well. Oh, he's going to try to sneak some Banelings in. Stasis catches a whole bunch of the Zerglings. +1 melee is not done. It's still pretty far out. The Stasis links creating something of a force field. Those Banelings are going to have to do critical damage. As MaxPax's micro is topped out, MaxPax looking the other way. But, oh wow, his setup was so good that even though MaxPax didn't even look back at the base, the Banelings only get 3 probes. MaxPax actually a little supply blocked is the biggest win from this. And that will cut into the potential Stalker critical mass, but Dark is bleeding out Zerglings fast here. The Queen Zergling counter. Gonna commit to it. Blink spec. The setup is so good. Just preemptively defending. The queens. A couple stasis at the back triggers one. Don't know if he noticed the other +1. Melee is completed. +1 attack is not quite... Another stasis. The oracles will activate the queens. Have to try to walk through. But the oracles have enough damage to soften most of this up. And the stalkers may be... God, the cost effectiveness. 91 Zerglings for 5 stalkers and 3 adepts. And the adepts were more of an earlier game thing. +1 ground weapons. Dark is at 53 drones to 68 probes. So, long-term future is not looking great for the Zerg, but there's a lot of Zerglings on the field. He has a whole bunch of money in the bank. I think with the queens pulled off the line, he wasn't able to inject enough larvae. He's saving up for the mass swarm host. I actually think that might be true, though. It worked last game, but this is not a swarm host scenario. He needs something. Infestors? Hold the blink stalkers down so you can rip them apart. Ultras with high. The queens off the line. Dark did re-expand. Banelings again trying to come by, but the blinks just stop right there. Get down, Mr. Probes. Oh, the charge lots from the back. The oracle's protecting the stalkers. MaxPax with a wave of charge lots to distract the queens. Recalls the stalkers. This has been another MaxPax masterclass. Brenda, what are you doing? We're not talking. Susan, don't. I don't want to hear anything. Okay? Can you hear your joints creaking off of Susan? Sorry. Ooh, sorry. Hive is on the way. Dark's just throwing some banelings in there. Those outlets are cutting down so much. 200 Zerglings dead. Dark desperate to get anything done. MaxPax has adapted. That's the big vulnerability, the proxy hatch as well. Oh my. Another queen cut to pieces. MaxPax has enough money to warp in a full round. Storm is on the way. Legion of charge launch warped into the main. There's not even creep between the main and the natural. This game looking more one-sided than a Mobius strip right now. Zergling's gonna be able to get the wraparound on some of the stalkers. Oracles still have energy though. War Prism. For the 3rd time, Banelings will try to roll in, and for the 3rd time, they'll get little to no damage. Ultraless Cavern, Adrenal Glands. Why not? I guess we will get some Ultra Love on Ultra Love, but I have a feeling they're going to be ultra dead. MaxPax is on point today. Some days, yes, we saw the struggle on El Dorado, but Dark has not... Oh! He has not been able to recreate that. There are 2 Immortals already on the field. 8 probes dead to the Banelings. Almost catches an Immortal as it comes out. In fact, but the Storms... 1 Ultra on the way. Alright. Well, you got a lot riding on those hefty shoulders. Dark has a dream. If the Banelings roll in at just the right time, if the Templar are taken out and the Zerglings get a full surround, whole lot of ifs here. But, that means there's a possibility. However remote. The single Ultra, the Hero-lesque, has arrived. No chitinous plating, but plenty of queens ready for transfuse. Ultra transfuses Zerglings into the natural. Counterattack shut down over to the right flank, but Zerglings make it into the main. The Ultra survives, and with it, hope. A recall is forced. The Ultra obliterated on the other side. But Baneling's rolling in, Dark. Oh, but the Archons, the overwhelming power. He knocks MaxPax down 18 probes, so MaxPax plummets to a 3-probe lead. Dark making a big play there, but catching up is still behind. MaxPax puts it to match point. 2-1. Dark trying to throw him off, but he just took too much too early. He didn't get to the position where maybe you can get Swarm Hosts or a Nidus or something like that. MaxPax just took his legs out from under him with the shades, and now is staring down the barrel of match point. Probe at the beginning of the game sent out. And now we'll see if Dark will continue. Like, is that just the new build? Is Proxy Hatch their natural? We will see. The drone. Come on, Dark. Don't be a coward. Not now. We'll take his very own third. No drones going across the map. I don't know if that's good or bad, but it certainly is. MaxPax just... God, when he looks good, he looks so good. That's many non-hero Protoss. When hero looks good, you're just confused why. When he looks bad, it looks the same, so it's kind of also confused. Besides the moments when hero just decides F2 and then a bunch of Zerglings get into his base because there's nothing in the wall. Like, those are pretty obvious. Besides the moments when F2 and a Warp Prism flies into very obvious anti-air. Besides the moments when, like, spellcasters will wander into the fight first. Okay, well, we're describing hero. We're not describing MaxPax here, who clearly, even in the game, like, even in the El Dorado game, the Swarmhost game, it wasn't that MaxPax made a big active mistake. Like, it wasn't sloppy. It was just, it looked like he just blue screened for a moment. Like, I heard a Nidus, and I'm sure in a vacuum he can put together that Swarmhost. All right, but it just did not register. And those are the moments that MaxPax has occasionally, but not moments like just... He's not a hot mess. He's either on fire or completely shut down. And a lot of younger players, MaxPax probably our youngest regular pro at, 21 now, but do suffer from that more than the older players like Dark, who arguably don't even get... They played so many matches over so many years that nerves no longer even really exist. Dark with a crazy... Clearly doing a Zergling sort of rush, but the Zerglings trickly in a few at a time to make it look less suspicious. But the Adept... He gets some drone kills, but the Zerglings will get in. He recalls immediately, but the Zerglings are already inside the house. Speed is not done, but a bunch of Zerglings are hitting the pylon. And if he depowers Warp Gate, this gets a lot more difficult. If he depowers the Oracle, it gets even more difficult. The probes are not going to be enough. He depowers the first Oracle, but he will lose most of the Zerglings. Has only killed one probe thus far. Okay. MaxPax battens down the hatches ridiculously quickly. He kills the Zerglings and the main with a citizen's arrest. Yeah, sure, the Oracle was delayed by however long it takes to about 18 seconds, but not nearly as important as I originally thought it might be. And now MaxPax has cauterized, in almost the literal sense, the damage and an oracle overhead. Dark is at 27 drones. He's trying to scrape a few more out. Trying to find those larvae behind the couch cushions, and maybe a few minerals as well that he forgot about. And MaxPax is just... he's added into your most normal of builds. He's trying to return back to sanity here. And actually, well, the second oracle comes out. I think he's going to get the Nexus. He's going to get a cancel. Only costs a few Zerglings. Meanwhile, the oracle on the other side. Queens will drive it away. Evolution chamber. Leaning towards that +1 melee yet again, Duck. And a quick Twilight behind. But some gas geysers on the way, indicating blink is much more likely. Oracle lights up intimidatingly, just shining a strobe light in their face. That's kind of what oracles are in general. Like various versions of fancy light bulbs or flashlight. Oracles. Brenda, why does it feel like the entirety of playing against Protoss is just our workers getting harassed? Susan, it's a Blizzard game. It's a feature, not a bug. Oracle. Oracles take out a few more drones. 8 drones in total. Dark scraping his way back to parity, but losing overlords as well. Really, it's the larva management early that makes it quite a struggle. If you go for the early Zerg rush, and you don't have those drones, you can't be getting more drones as quickly. So, by the time you finally get the economy, only 3 hatcheries doesn't really afford you enough larvae to both get drones and lings on a comfortable basis. Shield battery in an awkward position. Oracle's actually coming back to defend. Dark will have to put together something for the Blink Stalkers. Blink completed. And the queens are left on their own to defend. +1 still. Oh, the stasis hit so many Zerglings. More stasis behind. The Zerglings trying to surround. Dark with a lot of money in the bank, but again, he can't spend it. The queens are pulled off the line, all 5 of them. There's no injects. So it's whatever Zerglings he's able to put out with the... Oh my. And the oracles light up when they're safely out of the range of the queens. Roach 1's on the way. Dark with a lot of money to potentially end up doing something, but... I can't help but feel like we're sliding into a similar position. Dark has a little bit more economy than last game. But MaxPax is comfortably on 3, going on 4 bases. If Dark can miraculously hold on to his 4th base, then he has a springboard. But 1,400 minerals in the bank right now. A lot of these stalkers are being surrounded, taken down. Storm is on the way. Dark needs, like, he needs more tech. He's got roaches in production, but his tech tree looking pretty bare right now. More hatcheries. Honestly, just macro hatches may be the way. Be able to get enough larvae to make the Zergling something here. There's an Archon out in front. Will be taken down. No stasis at the back, trying to get in position so the oracles can get some more damage. Queen's holding the line. Storm is completed. Not sure how many Templar are available. Couple back at home. More Queens going to be targeted down. Roaches finally trickling out of the hatcheries. MaxPax brawling. Another stasis catches the Lings. Dark has been able to spend his money, but that's partially because he's at 57 drones against 76 probes and counting. MaxPax is going up to 80 plus. I don't think he's doing it actively. I think he's just on autopilot there. As 80 probes is perfectly fine to pretty much play out the rest of the game from this point. Dark effectively all in on Roachling. He has the economy, he has the hatchery count, but it's going to rely on MaxPax making a mistake. Not exactly the ideal place for Dark to be in this series, but it's where we are. Stasis. Trying to trigger it. Zergling's a little bit slow. Dark collapsing. Can see on the minimap from pretty much every angle. Another stasis triggers yet another one. Storm hits the brunt of the roaches. More coming up the ramp. The Queen's on the back. More storms waiting right through. And yet more storms. Storm season in full swing. As the supply right now is still pretty healthy for Dark. These Archons in a precarious position. And Dark trickling in bit by bit. Drowns the Protoss. Now a Warp Prism into the main. But Dark manages to hold against the initial push with Storm. MaxPax still has the economy. He still has the upgrades on the way. He's building Immortals. But Dark he's still not building any more drones. Going to try to turn this into something on the other side of the map where it's going to be significantly harder to do so. Cannon, shield battery. Might be able to cut off some of the Templar at the natural. Takes it down. Dark, more storms. 30 more Zerglings in production. This is all he has, the roaches and the Zerglings. But quantity has a quality all its own. Immortals popping out. Cannons buffering. Immortal and Archon at the natural. Dark bleeding out supply. Some charge lots at the back. Take down 10 drones. Dark is under 50. Oh no. Dark had a 30 supply lead before the last fight. Energy recharge right as he retreats a couple storms. Dark gets annihilated on the field. And there is no follow-up. It doesn't get easier from here. He agrees. Taps it out. MaxPax takes it. 3-1. A hard-fought series from Dark, but MaxPax putting on a clinic. Getting caught like a Protoss in the headlights in Game 2, but overall a decisive victory against the final boss. Dark not trusting himself to proxy hatch in the final game. Trying a different sort of Zerg rush, but MaxPax seems to have closed the gaps in most of the gaps in his armor. And Dark struggling to break through. But hopefully it made your day a little bit better. Thank you again to Wardi. Make sure to check out link in the description, Jimmy. Otherwise, if you got the means of motivation, it'd be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. So thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Stay chill.